Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. More concerning news about the state of the planet. Seas are rising and they're warming faster than ever. The leaders of Pakistan and India give speeches at the UN. We look back at the history of these events as the issue of Kashmir is high on the agenda. What would you do if you managed to escape an oppressive dictatorship? These North Koreans started YouTube channels. And more evidence that cats and dogs are besties, regardless of what cartoons try to teach us. And at the top of our newsfeed, the Earth's seas are rising faster than scientists thought they would because the Earth is warming quicker than they thought they would too. Glaciers and polar ice caps are melting, the oceans are getting more acidic, and those things will affect most of us. Now, more concerning, they may now be compounding, which means that what's going on is going to get way worse before it gets better, if it gets better. Here's Adama.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says if greenhouse gas emissions continue at the current rate, cities will vanish under seas and ecosystems will collapse. Here are 4 points to take away from the report. Once-in-a-century events caused by extreme rises in sea levels will occur every year by 2050. Scientists say even if emissions are curbed, catastrophe is on its way.
Sea level isn't just rising, it's accelerating. That means it gets faster and faster by the decade. If we don't slow down emissions and we stay on a high emissions trajectory, sea level is going to rise faster and faster. Extreme flood levels are going to get more and more extreme, faster than our ability to catch up and do something about it. Why? Well, look around you. We don't do a very good job now about protecting ourselves along the coast. What are we going to do as we're faced with a greater and greater, faster and faster sea level rise?
That means more flooding in coastal regions, which could potentially redraw the map of the world. Whole areas of ice, the poles and glaciers, known as the cryosphere. It's going through unprecedented changes, changes not seen for at least 1,000 years. The cryosphere is shrinking every month of every year. The Earth has lost at least 13% so far, and the melting water is adding to rising sea levels.
The loudest line of alert is that we are dealing with two large-scale systems, the cryosphere, the glaciers, the ice sheets, and then the oceans. So we are talking about 70%, 3/4 of the surface of the planet, and these systems are affected by climate change. They are disturbed in their functioning, and their changes feed back on our lives, on our daily lives in terms of weather, water supply, and food supply.
The past 5 years have been the warmest on record, and land dwellers aren't the only ones affected. The seas, too, are heating at alarming rates. Oceans play a role in absorbing both carbon and heat. But higher carbon levels caused by global heating upsets the chemical balance of the Earth's seas. They're becoming increasingly acidic, which is deadly to most marine life.
Just to cut to the chase, the bottom line on this report for me is that the oceans and the icy parts of the world are in big trouble, and that means we're all in big trouble too.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the other things that caught our eye on social media. Now, millions of us here in Istanbul felt an earthquake earlier. This is footage from our sister network, TRT Arabi, where our colleague Saha was on air live as the earth shook. Scary times. Thankfully, only a few people have been hurt and there has been minimal damage. These drones are being used to spot crocodiles in Australia. The company that makes them, Ripper, has teamed up with retail giant Amazon to get them into service. The drones use software that allows them to identify various types of marine life. Similar gadgets have been used to spot sharks. The aim is to create a warning system to make sure that crocs don't bump into any humans. Now this is embarrassing. The Green Party in Canada has been caught out photoshopping a picture of party leader Elizabeth May, so she's holding a reusable cup with the party logo on rather than a paper one. The obviously manipulated pic is on their homepage. Ms. May says she was shocked to find out someone on her team had done this.
Do you have a show plate?
No.
Do you have any moving violations?
No.
You ever hit anybody?
On a job?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right, then. We don't have nothing to worry
And the
about.
trailer for the new Scorsese film called The Irishman is out. The film itself comes at a whopping 3 hours, and as you can imagine, the trailer is pretty long too, so we'll summarize it for you. All we can think here at Newsfeed is that it's great that it has so many stars in it. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, and Joe Pesci. That's basically a dream lineup of legends from previous Scorsese films. They'll be in a cinema near you pretty soon.
We're going to war with these people.
Now, the United Nations General Assembly is on in New York, and world leaders have been addressing the forum. Well, tomorrow, two heads of state are due to speak at a time when the threat of war between them is as high as it's been for many years.
India and Pakistan will face off at the United Nations General Assembly. One reason the relationship between the two nuclear neighbors remains frosty: Kashmir. To understand this annual showdown at the UN, the hostility and importance of this arena, you've got to go back, way back. The story begins in October of 1947, when a homegrown armed revolt against an unpopular ruler of Kashmir, Hari Singh, erupted. The ruler sought help from the Indian government and later went on to sign the Instrument of Accession. India sent its troops to fight the rebels and the raiders from Pakistan, resulting in the First Kashmir War between the two countries. In 1949, the president of the UN Security Council called for the withdrawal of both Indian and Pakistan-backed forces, allowing each to control a part of Kashmir under UN supervision, followed by a plebiscite. The proposal was rejected by India. This led to another set of UN resolutions which called for the demilitarization of Kashmir in the next 5 months, and led to the appointment of an Australian judge and diplomat, Sir Owen Dixon. He called for regional plebiscites in the disputed territory, which would have resulted in the Hindu-majority Jammu and Buddhist-majority Ladakh joining India, while Muslim-majority areas Gilgit-Baltistan and Azad Kashmir would have joined Pakistan, and a plebiscite in the Kashmir Valley. This was known as the Dixon Plan. This time, Pakistan rejected the proposal, saying a plebiscite should be held for the entire state or be partitioned along religious lines. India also refused to withdraw its troops from the region. Then, in 1951, US Senator Frank Graham was appointed as the next UN representative to India and Pakistan. Much like his predecessors, he called for the reduction of troops in the disputed region, but both nations refused to comply, sparring over logistics and stalling the process. The UN's role in the early years of the Kashmir dispute was also influenced by Cold War politics. With Pakistan being in the US bloc, India forged an alliance with the Soviet Union. 4 wars and multiple resolutions later, the question of Kashmir continues to smolder. For millions of Kashmiris, the promise of a UN-mandated plebiscite and demilitarization remains elusive. Calls made at the UN to resolve the dispute have reduced to mere rhetoric. In 1957, India's envoy to the UN, V.K. Krishna Menon, spoke over 8 hours, a record defending India's claim over Kashmir. While several Pakistani prime ministers have delivered passionate speeches on Kashmir, like this one by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto.
Jammu and Kashmir is a disputed territory between India and Pakistan. It is more a part of Pakistan than it can ever be with India, with all her eloquence and with all her extravagance with words. The people of Jammu and Kashmir, sir, are part of people of Pakistan. In blood, in flesh, in life, kith and kin of ours. In culture, in geography, in history, in every way and in every form.
The dispute goes on and global leadership ditters. Today, India has virtually cut off Kashmir from the world for over 50 days. A move condemned internationally by several human rights groups. With the United Nations' history of indecision, can it be expected to provide any relief to Kashmiris?
And we will keep spinning around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Thursday. The Intercept is reporting that despite US government claims of having defeated Daesh, the number of special forces deployed to the region the US calls the Greater Middle East is increasing. It says at least 4,000 Green Berets, Navy SEALs and Marine Corps raiders are sent out every month. In America, the Greater Middle East refers to all the countries from Northeast Africa to and including Central and Southern Asia. A ruling by judges in Italy could signal a major change to feelings around euthanasia in the Catholic country. The case of a man called Fabio Antoniani, who was left paralyzed after a bike accident and asked his friends to drive him to Switzerland where he took his own life, has been heard in the country's constitutional court. It's ruled that, under certain conditions, the facilitating of a person's suicidal intentions should not be punished. A new study has found that tea bags release microplastics into your tea while you're drinking it. You may think that tea bags are just made of paper. They actually contain polypropylene. Tea manufacturers put plastic in so the bag retains its shape. And when you pour hot water over it, as well as diffusing the tea leaves, it also releases tiny plastics into your cup. So now you know. Kevin Feige is going to make a new Star Wars movie. For those of you who don't know, he's the president of Marvel and oversaw all those Marvel Cinematic Universe blockbusters. The news has been greeted with trepidation in some parts of the internet. It was announced alongside plans to turn Tommy Adeyemi's excellent book, Children of Blood and Bone, into a movie soon. And now to South Korea, where some people who left North Korea are making the most of their newfound freedom by launching YouTube channels.
North Korea. Most citizens don't have access to the internet, so most news is mainstream media reports on some sort of provocative action. But one group of young North Korean refugees is using YouTube to tell a different story, albeit from beyond the border.
Some people say, keep up the good work after watching my YouTube videos. Or sometimes young people say, your video has helped clear up misunderstandings about North Korea. Seeing these comments gives me the motivation to keep going, because it's worthwhile to help even one person understand North Korea better.
The videos focus on day-to-day life in their former country.
Of course, people are interested in North Korean politics, but they're also curious about their daily lives, what they eat, what they do on weekends, or how they live. North Korean YouTubers have built a niche market by sharing these stories.
Not that the feedback is always positive. The YouTubers get called out every time North Korea does something provocative.
I often read comments like, we're wasting our tax on you, or go back to your country. That makes me sad because I don't have anywhere to go back to.
Despite the criticism, Kang says she loves interacting with fans.
I'm happy when I'm communicating with people, responding to comments, or hearing people's recommendations on what to talk about or what to do during the broadcast.
All part of an effort to show that not all North Koreans are the same.
And last up, we have a glorious Animals Doing Stuff for you today, courtesy of a cat and dog right here in Istanbul. Now, this was posted to Twitter by the mayor of the district of Üsküdar. As you can see, the dogs over there have a great deal going. The local cats have started a street massage service. Just look how much he's enjoying it, tongue lolling and everything. And when the doggo tries to get up, no, sir, your massage is not complete. We aren't sure who is getting more out of this, but they both seem pretty happy. So who's complaining? And that will do from the newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel and you can follow me on Twitter. Follow, subscribe and add. See you again soon.